Fallout 76 has finally come clean on its plan. Anthem is seemingly not dead yet, Steam has a big new feature, and we've got a Kickstarter drama that seems to have taken a big twist. All of this and more on today's roundup. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Roundup. So, we've got quite a lot to cover today. Of course, be sure to like, sub, and ring that bell to let the algorithm know that you're enjoying the content. And with that, let's get cracking. First up, we've got a breaking story that is actually rather funny. So, Fallout First is a new subscription service for Fallout 76. What will you get for this subscription that costs $12.99 USD per month, or $99 a year? Well, you're going to get a second camp that you can quickly place anywhere, allowing fast travel between your main camp and this new camp, so a convenience feature. You'll get a new resource box that's going to save you stash space because you can put all your crafting stuff in it. You're going to get a skin and emotes, then access to private worlds and 1,650 atoms per month. So, yeah, it's not really that good, is it? Right, basically, they're kind of going full old school MMO, but with bizarre, modern, kind of free-to-play twists in what used to be a buy-to-play game. It is really quite bizarre overall. You can see that, what they want to do is to have an MMO-like business model where they've got their subscribers, the game, lasts for maybe 8 years, they continuously update it, and that seems reasonable enough. But overall, the way that they've went about that is really far from ideal. They, of course, stuffed their store full of just ridiculously overpriced cosmetics. They then started adding in gameplay impacting things, and that really was the thing that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. And we'll get into the actual, first Fallout story in this video, that I recorded in this video after this one, but they really are doubling down on the sort of gameplay impacting microtransactions. And that's something that traditionally good MMOs do not do. Yet that is pretty much the core of this. I mean, the main selling point, and indeed one of the things that they even mention as a great selling point of this in their blog post, is that 1,650 atoms for $12.99, or, even more efficient in terms of the dollars, if you get the yearly subscription, is like a good value for atoms. And that really does show you that they are going just doubly hard on the people who want to have the smoothest, the frictionless Fallout experience by just pumping their atoms into convenience items. That really does seem to be what they're going with here. But that's not all though, because by being a Fallout First member, not only will you get 1,650 atoms per month, no, you're also going to get access to unique discounts on the Atomic Store. So I think that's the bit that really does just show you that Todd & Co. are going whale hunting. And it's kind of funny, right? Because MMOs, that's a business model that has worked in the past, still sort of works now. There are ways to do that reasonably. But it seems like they really have bungled it up here by just tying it so much into the Atoms currency. I mean, this would feel a lot more okay if the game then went free to play. But still, though, I think this does rub many the wrong way, just based on the kind of, lies that Bethesda have done thus far. This game, it really does just seem like they're scrambling to turn it into a success, and this is just their latest attempt to do so. So with that, Fallout First is going live today. However, Wastelanders is not going live in Q4. It has been delayed, as we're about to cover in the story that I recorded before this news broke, and we're also going to see more microtransactions. So with that said, let's move on. So another day, another Fallout 76 setback. The much anticipated Wastelanders update, which is going to add human NPCs to the world, pretty big feature, it is set to be delayed until Q1 2020. Initially slated for a Q4 this year release, Bethesda's blog states that the update is going to need more time to come out in the most polished, best state that it can be in. And yeah, for the game right now, that's quite rough. The lack of NPCs is what made much of 76 feel barren, yet that feature, the accompanying dialogue system, the broad reworks are being delayed. That's kind of bad now, but I think fair enough, it is better late and good than early and bad. But that's not the part of the blog that got people talking, because the blog finally acknowledged the state of Fallout 76's microtransactions. Despite initially wanting to stock only cosmetic items in the Atomic Shop, their team have reconsidered their position after looking at all the data. The post expands on this by saying that while the 76 team have all kinds of ideas for things on the shop, the community feedback has had a huge say in that decision. Bethesda say that that players wanted items with some real utility, and that this in turn is the reason why the Atomic Shop has additions such as the repair kit, Collectron Station, and the ridiculous refrigerator. And the post concludes with a quick look at the game's Anthem currency, as well as an acknowledgement that basically, yeah, they are going to do non-cosmetic things, and that they say that they don't want it to be pay to win. Bethesda are currently also reworking parts of the challenge and reward system to be a bit more clear, a bit more accessible, and more impactful to players. They say they wish to encourage players to earn atoms by playing the game, but they do of course emphasize that atoms can still be purchased with real money. And to make this option sound even more appealing, the post stresses that the team are being careful not to upset the game's balance by offering a competitive advantage in turn for real money. And, well, I'll be real here, that is a clear lie, because the current store items do offer you an advantage. Less spoilage, a circumvention of the game's death penalty, and automatic resource gathering. Those are impactful things. That $7 fridge, that absolutely does exist to mitigate the food wastage problem, which is basically just a resource problem that Bethesda created in their game design. Thanks to them rolling out numerous small game-changing microtransactions, Bethesda have tried to normalize them, clearly because they want to do a lot more in the future in that space. And that, of course, clearly doesn't mean the players have accepted them, though. The backlash to the previous transactions mustn't count as community feedback for Bethesda, because they seemingly are just going to be pushing on regardless of how unconvinced their player base seems to have been. Now, of course, for me, this brings up major concerns for their future titles, including the single-player games, if Bethesda are just going to say here that actually, no, they offer them for community feedback. Is that the excuse they're going to add when Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6 have similar microtransactions? I mean, the Creation Club is already something in Fallout 4 and Skyrim that does have microtransactions. Really, for me, it's them saying that it's all community motivated that's so annoying. They think it allows them to frame every bizarre new purchase option as fulfilling a community request, when really it is just them begging for more coins. It's obviously acceptable to walk back on promises in their book, especially promises that you've sold your game on at launch, just, provided they dress it up as a service. The existence of these items, it incentivizes Bethesda to make their games more grindy, right? We've got food spoilage be significant. We've got armor perks being nerfed before the introduction of the paid repair kits. Dressing this stuff up as fulfilling a community request is dishonest, and Bethesda should be avoided for it. Next up, we've got an update to Anthem, though, because they just had a big new event update over there. The game's new Season of Skulls event brings with it new activities to tackle in the open world, such as an arena challenge that pits players against waves of enemies, and there are also going to be new anomalies that are themed around the game's 3 different factions, which are the Freelancers, the Arcanists, and the Sentinels. Yes, how thrilling. These boast more waves of enemies to destroy before confronting a powerful boss, so overall, gotta admit, it does sound really boring to me. Now, all the Season of Skulls events will give you some crystals. These crystals can then be used to buy unique items and war chests. EA have not revealed how long this event is going to last, but, well, they say it's a Halloween event. It can only last so long, but I imagine they'll keep it going for quite some time. Now, with that, let's jump into a bit of analysis here. So, NPD revealed that Anthem was the 5th highest selling game in North America up till August of this year, coming in behind MK11, Kingdom Hearts 3, Madden 2020, and The Division 2. But the thing is that, bar The Division, those are all games of a very different caliber. Being the 5th highest in an uncrowded market, to be honest, that's not much of a feat given the 10-year game that Anthem was supposed to be. This is also, that being not that good is in line with EA saying it underperformed expectations, with them later slashing its price and then rolling it into their cheapest Origin Access subscription. Now, it is true that their push to digital was a big success, and we also don't know how NPD counts Origin Access Premier sort of copies of the game that were available at launch. But what I will say is that Origin Access could be the game's savior now. So with Anthem now being on the Origin Access basic tier, events like this will be easily accessible to loads of players. This could provide Anthem with the lifeline that it needs until the foundational changes mentioned last month in their big update from Chad Robinson, until that actually makes it live, which I imagine could be sometime indeed. Then next up, we've got a major development to a story that you may have seen but that we didn't cover. Turns out for good reason. So the story of the Oath Kickstarter is one that, well, you may have heard, but you're in for quite a twist. The story last week was that Ready Up Studios, the people behind the Kickstarter, were not paying their artists for work undertaken in September. Ocean Spark Studios, the artists in question, then released a statement detailing Ready Up's failure to pay and a generally uncooperative attitude from them. Ocean Spark claimed that they were owed £4,000 and that they had let 2 members of staff go due to financial constraints caused by the missing payments. Now, this story got a lot of traction online, but has since turned out to be potentially less than accurate. So, Ocean Spark's statement forced a response from Ready Up, in which they basically said that they never wanted to take this dispute public. The statement emphasizes that the dispute between the two companies should have been handled between the two companies, and that Ready Up have taken every effort to do this. Still though, quote, "Since Ocean Spark decided to make it public, we have no choice but to respond," and, well, respond they did. Ocean Spark's initial statement was 43 pages long, but Ready Up's is a lot more short and to the point. So their account shares an excerpt of their contract with Ocean Spark, detailing that Ocean Spark were contracted to provide Ready Up with, quote, "original artwork used for marketing and development of Oath." Now, the term original is essential here, as it was funny enough, a grass texture, a grass asset that kicked off this entire story. So, one of the assets Ocean Spark were contracted to make was a grass model and texture. Ready Up initially received incomplete assets, but the problem was resolved, until Ready Up found the same grass asset on the Unreal Marketplace. They also found the grass model was from Project Survival, but we don't actually know what Project Survival was, so that's a little bit odd. Now, the Oath team pointed out that half the map had this grass, so basically it would have been hard for that to be like a mistake, and that uploading the wrong file wouldn't have been possible because of elements of Unreal 4 and the workflow. Now, Ocean Spark said that this was a mistake, which Ready Up, I think, rightly said is very unlikely. Overall, though, the point is they were contracted to make unique assets for Oath, but they seem to have flipped Unreal Store assets that they used on another project, that Project Survival thing. Now, that's the main thrust of the initial segment of their response. After that, they go on to just offer some counter-arguments to a few more of Ocean Spark's claims. Their key point, though, is that when confronted on the breach of contract, Ocean Spark tried to get ahead of the story by releasing their big statement and a YouTube video bashing Ready Up. Now, Ready Up also explain that they are suing YouTuber Cry for defamation, and to be honest, this bit's iffy. So, Cry's initial video presented the Ocean Spark document as fact. Ready Up sees this as him furthering lies that were damaging the company, so defamation. But the thing is, it is what he believed to be true at the time, and intention can be quite crucial in a defamation case, so we need to bear that in mind. But overall, though, this is about defamation, so we should look at the UK's Defamation Act 2013. So Cry could make a case for innocent dissemination, wherein he could make the case that he was not aware of the defamatory nature of his statement. But the thing is that he would have to prove that that was not because of negligence, which is where him not reaching out to Ready Up could come in. So that defense could be a bit iffy, but there are other ones. He could argue there was a fair comment, or there was one made in the public interest. Here's the relevant quote from the Defamation Act 2013. "The defendant reasonably believed that publishing the statement complained of was in the public interest." So basically, I don't think that that defamation case is as cut and dry as Ready Up may think. Indeed, Cry was saying that it was a warning about the Kickstarter that could be construed to be a statement made with the intent of public good. So, not really sure if that defamation thing will actually go anywhere, and they may have jumped the gun on that, and it certainly can be seen as a bad look. And then finally, for our coverage of this story, they also said that they closed their Discord publicly while a staffer was resting, and they showed off some game assets to prove its existence, and they also explained their use of store assets, which, by the way, their use of them is entirely justified, and I believe, as a game dev, is the right decision. Here's the thing, if you're making an MMO with a budget just north of 100k, you should be using that budget on doing your game mechanics, things like that, making the MMO, not just getting a bunch of artists to do fairly generic looking bits of art. You could spend 30 grand having an art team make a basic tile set for a region, or you could get one that pretty much does the job for 99 quid and use the rest of that budget to actually develop your game. Ultimately, when people buy a game, the game is a lot more than just some assets. So, and overall, yes, this is a point you'll see me make a lot in the defense of using store assets. I think that is often quite misrepresented in gaming discourse. But anyway, let's move on to a bit of quickfire. So Steam have announced this week that their new remote play together feature has officially entered beta, and this is actually exciting. This new system lets you couch co-op with friends over the internet together. Now, this is really cool. So remote play together supports up to 4 players across local co-op, local multiplayer and shared/split screen games, and that's it. It just works online through Steam. What's fun is that only the host player needs to own and install the game, while the other players just need to connect in through the remote play streaming system. It's got controller support as well as mouse and keyboard sharing, and players can play together across PC, Mac, and Linux. Steam have also stated in their update that they're going to be improving the stability and the hardware compatibility throughout their beta period, and you can actually head to the Steam Client Beta website and just, take a look and browse the thousands of supported titles. Overall, I think this is extremely cool, and it actually solves so many problems. So doing netcode is pretty darn hard. Doing local multiplayer, that's a hell of a lot easier. So there's a lot of developers who make really cool games, but, because couch co-op isn't as much of a thing on the PC platform, they just don't do that well on Steam. But now, if you're an indie dev and you're making a couch co-op game, well, it's just unlocked a massive audience to you. You can hop in a Discord channel, play couch co-op with your friends online. That is an incredible service offered to developers, and I mean, as a dev who, I heard about this and I instantly thought about, just a few ideas of games that, we've prototyped at Game Jams that we could easily put onto a system like this. So for me, this is definitely an instance of Steam earning a bit more of their cut, and I commend them for working on this. And then finally, let's round it off with the new releases. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare comes out this Friday. Of course, it's had quite a lot of controversy that they have tried to dissuade in a blog post that we covered in a recent report. Of course, we'll just have to wait and see how long that lasts. And then, of course, we also have The Outer Worlds that is going to be coming out this week as well, and definitely a well-hyped game, seemingly quite a well-reviewed one as well. Of course, the Epic Game Store side will be a negative to many people, but it is available on Xbox Game Pass, so I imagine many other people will, get that for the cheap. So there you go, that's the major new releases, and that's it for today's episode of The Roundup. Let me know what you think about the stories that we covered today. Be sure to like, sub, and all that good stuff to keep the YouTube algorithm happy, and with that, I will see you next time.